Hey, so the final talk of this session this morning, David Smith, going to be talking about online assessment styles.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm bringing up the end of the session and talking about everybody's favourite thing, which is let's talk about exams. Now, I was going to lay out right from the very start, I'm not an advocate of the examination process as the best means of assessing your students, but we do it. And if we are going to do it, I want to make it the most robust and, as it can be, the best assessment it's going to be. Now, I'm not standing here going, everybody should do exams. I'm saying if you're going to do exams, here's some things that you should be considering. Now, the background to all of this is the RSB round about end of last year started to have a little bit of a wobble about the integrity of online examinations for a number of different reasons. So Thomas this morning eloquently outlined the main one. I'm not going to talk about collusion and cheating as problems in exams. The one we are going to think about a little bit is, well, the main problem with exams, and it's going to come on the slide next. The output that we created was a document that was crowdsourced from many of the people in the room have helped me to write this and bring case studies together. So we have a resource to help us write better online and offline examination questions. So the problem, we all know what the problem is. In an online examination that is unproctored and open book, you have access to literally everything. So what are you actually assessing when you're going about doing it? You have access to all the information in the world at your fingertips whilst you're doing it. So that's the issue, and that's what we've got to try and address. The way we tried to address it and the way to start thinking about it, well, we came at it from two sides. First of all, there was a literature review done. So I think I read about 120 papers on examinations. I discounted most of those around collusions, and this was all, there's very few actually on question design. There's a lot about student experience. And then we came from the other side. I put a call out to my friends and colleagues. They gave me case studies of different exam questions and we collated them all together to get good examples of everything that's going on to give us our good practice. So what we found from the literature review is that when you are setting online exams, and much of this I think actually relates to offline exams as well, there are very clear things that affect the students and affect the outcomes of the exam. First one is clarity and the way that you structure your exam paper. Somebody was speaking yesterday, just in the corner back there, and said, we set one exam question where we says, pick two question from section A and two questions from section B, and people just answered all question A and forgot section B. And we've all got stories of people just missing bits out. So that clarity about what is going on and really simplifying your exam structure is critical. Time and length of the examination is also critical. We're going to sit down, people work at different rates. Now, in an online exam, you're typing, and I'm going to do a little straw poll. The average 18-year-old, based on the sources that I came across, what do you think their typing speed is in a transcription task? The words are on one screen, they're typing on the other. How quickly does the average 18-year-old type? A little bit higher, but yeah, about 20 to 25 words per minute in a transcription task. That's a word every 2 seconds. So for a 500-word answer, you're looking at about 20 minutes if it was transcription. That doesn't give them any time to sit and think it through. So if you've got a big, long essay in an online exam and they're typing it in, there's so much tendency, you know what, I'll just paste something, it'd be quicker. So we really think about the length of time and how you structure the indicative word counts that are coming on. Accessibility has been mentioned a number of times throughout the talk. We all have different digital accessibility. I am happily in the category of white middle class man. My kids, when they were during lockdown, had a bedroom each, a laptop each, and an ultra fast Wi-Fi connection. I think they were pretty blessed on that. That's not replicated for everybody. Can you imagine the rooms we all slept in last night trying to do your online exam there with the exhaust doors banging, people coming backwards and forwards? I couldn't get onto the Wi-Fi because it was so slow at some point. So different people are going to have different experiences. You need to build that in to account. If you're going to get handwritten photos or handwritten pictures uploaded Do they have the devices to do it? Is it achievable? Some of the question types I'm going to put up are actually quite high order thinking questions, and they might well be out of the reach of the students of all the students. We need to keep in mind that in a good exam, it has to be passable. Otherwise, you just lose it. So what is the passable level? Expectation comes in. This helps with word count. This helps with understanding what the students are doing, the ethical aspects of cheating and collaboration. What are our expectations for the students and our expectations of them? We know they're going to have access to the information, so you're going to have to think about that within your question design. And then finally is the cognitive level that we are setting this at. Where are we pitching it? What do we want the students to do? So all of this can be addressed quite a lot in our preparation. The cognitive level stuff, you can prepare them in your tutorials and your sessions going forward. We can talk about the ethics, about how to write your exams and things about cheating. We can practice writing loads and loads of preparation for your exam. And I think that's just good practice anyway, especially, it was pointed out earlier, our final year students might well be sitting handwritten exams for the first time since their GCSEs, but they're going to need prepping in a different way. So all of these things are useful. So think carefully, again, about your assessment criteria. You need to make these things passable. Especially if it's online, think about what your pass level descriptor is going to be. In the past, I would have passed my master's students if they'd mentally regurgitated all the bullet points from my slide to the questions which I had asked. I mean, quite a few of us will probably have gone, you know what, they've at least learned it and put it back down again. We need to be wary about what that is. The high-level descriptors, they are very open-ended. So you have to be flexible in the way that you are going to do this assessment and how you're going to address it. So are their answers feasible? Is it coherent? Have they shown creativity in what they're producing? It's very hard to have a hard metric to mark those against, but you can have open-ended metrics that allow you to assess these higher order thinking skills. Pitch them where you want to be. Lower order thinking skills like knowledge and understanding can easily be searched. I did think in one of my exams, I was going to give them a gift of a question, which was to allow them to basically search the answer, give me a definition for the prompt that I put them. So many of them got that wrong because they searched the wrong thing. They didn't understand the output back from the search engine they got. So I've just got good descriptions for the wrong search terms. So knowledge and understanding can easily be searched. The higher order thinking skills aren't easily searched. You have to engage your mind when you're doing it. So what we do for our case studies, all these lovely people helped me out. I put a call out and they have supplied me with their exam questions, the rationale for the exam question, a little bit of a reflection on it and the rubrics for it. The QR code at the end has all of these different case studies. So you can just go and use them and adapt them, which I think we're going to call inclusive practice of sharing rather than just copying other people's exam questions. So these all people helped out. They're all there sitting for you. And they're all forms of authentic assessment. I didn't ask anybody for authentic assessment questions. I just said, can you give me an example of a question that you have been using that has worked in your situation? All of them, when you look at the list, have come back as some sort of authentic assessment. And Nick, I emailed the lady who drew this and asked for her permission to put it on the site. And she was like, wow, that's a really old image. Where on earth did you find that on the internet? And of course you can use it. So she's really nice. She's got some good images. So type of things we've got, data analysis. So James gave me a nice question about looking at the structural changes of the spike protein and getting the students to say what structural changes have occurred. We've had understanding threshold concept questions from Alfred. I'm going to show you a spot the error question in a minute because I love spot the error questions. We've had things like data analysis where you give gels or spectra and ask the students to interpret it. We've had experimental design where the prompt is the end of a paper. What are you going to do next? Loads of case studies where an environment has been set up or a description has been given. So for example, somebody's been stuck in the desert, they're dehydrating. What is the effect on their metabolism? You have to apply your knowledge because you can't Google the answers. You have to apply what's going on. loads and loads of ethics types questions and loads of things of creating different artifacts. And through all of them, I do think that MCQs, when used properly, can address all different levels, and they're really great for online exams because you can draw these kind of things from pools, and that stops people from just collaborating with their mate to get the answer because they've all got a different question set. So I realise 10 minutes coming up. Here's an example of one. This is a spot the error question. It's one that we use with our first years. It was within the coursework, but we did put it within the exam. And I put it up because when I first did this, I drew a peptide structure and I got it wrong and put it in the exam paper, and they're like, oh, and I was like, hang on, we use that in a spot the error question. So there are deliberate errors in there. The students get a list of what those errors are, and they have to basically spot the error. So you can either have that self-marked or not, and it's really good just to look. And you can't Google it because I generated that image, and every year I change it, and you can pull it from a drawed bank. So it's really, they can't collaborate with each other because everybody gets a slightly different image. The production questions are another good example. These are things like giving an artifact, an abstract that they have to read and then generate a summary figure. You can't Google the summary figure, so you've got to create that with what's going on. You have to have read the abstract, understand what's going on, and these have all been applied within examination settings. So if you want to have a look at some more of these, the QR code that is up there will take you to the site. The document is all sitting there. I'll tweet it out later on and put it on the Padlet wall. But you can write online examinations that prevent searching. You can get all your educational goals if you design your questions right. You need to think very carefully about accessibility and achievability of your questions. Authentic assessment works, and as Thomas pointed out this morning, collusion remains an issue. If it can be cheated, it will be cheated. So that isn't the solution to it. This is about making sure that they're not just searching the answers up and applying the information that they have. They're all the people that helped me. Most of them are in the Bioscience Educators Network. If you'd like to join that, which is a group of people who mentor each other through progression and fellowships, give me a shout, and we've got a meeting next Thursday to get the next cohort going. Finished.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
Nick's always got a question.
Well, it was just really beautiful that you took the time to figure out how long it took a student to type words, because that would never cross my mind. Thanks for that. So that's just doing a transcription test, 20 to 25 words a minute, whereas I expect them to produce lovely essays and diagrams and then upload the risk. So I can just think it's really inappropriate. So thanks for pointing that out. I'll promise to be better in the future. Thank you.
Good.
Any other questions at this stage?
Kind of following on from that, is there any optimal time frame to give any of these questions, particularly for the higher order? Suppose you're combating longer time frames, collusion, plagiarism, things like that, and then shorter time frames, stress, mental well-being.
Yeah, so this is a balance between your learning objectives for your module, the length of the exam, and the number of questions that are on it. So if you can get the learning objectives met with the minimum number of questions, that will take the least amount of time. If you have if you set a 3-hour exam where there's 4 questions, or each one expecting 500 words, it's basically impossible to do it within the time frame. Can the learning objective be met by just one of those? And if it can, maybe that's the way forward. Keep it simple and allow them to do their best within that situation. So it's a balance between meeting learning objectives and the time. And if you've not actually ever sat down and handwritten or typed the answer to one of your own questions from scratch, have a go at doing it, because it's amazing how long it actually takes. Or do one of the ones, if you're a collaborative exam, do somebody else's and see how long it takes. Longer than you think.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you, in your role with all the success across building communities, with the higher order thinking and questions relating to open-ended questions which you really can't conclude on. For instance, if you're given a 1 million grant, what will you focus on and why? Where you really can't conclude on that sort of thing. I don't know if there's any momentum or desire from the community to develop a database of those sort of questions.
We've got that's what this is. That our database at the end is those types of questions, and remarkably, the ones that people are using and pulled into their online exams over the last couple of years, many of them predated the need to be online in the first place. So these were already pre-existing questions. It's just that they fitted that scenario a lot better than other types. So I think they're definitely the way forward. But we do need to prep. You do need to talk. You do need to work those up. You can't just go, here's the module, everybody. Oh, by the way, what you're going to do with a 1 million grant? Yeah. You can build it to your whole of your program.